Hey guys, it's Chris once again here. I am at True Form Warehouse in Eugene, Oregon, and we are here prepping to haul 15 tiny homes to the beach in California. And so this is a similar one that we're going to be hauling. It's about 14 feet tall. I think it's 10 feet wide, right? 10.5, almost 10.6.
10.6.
And this is John, the owner back there. He's doing such an amazing job with all these structures. Everybody working so diligently, kind of like a toy factory from Christmas from Santa Claus, but for tiny homes. And so if you're buying a tiny home, this is the place to be. They have a variation of sizes. This guy is 36 feet, right? Or 40 feet? How long is this guy?
I'm not sure.
Anyway, I think it's 36 feet long, 10.5 wide, and 14, almost 13, 11 tall. And it's got a 4-axle, 7,000 pound.
35.
Yeah, I think it's 36. We were told.
John would know.
Yeah, no worries. 4-axle unit, reinforced on frames, large windows. You know, it's got the metal corrugated roof up on top there. It's sitting inside their warehouse. It's huge. It looks huge, and it's a very nice unit that, you know, if you own this unit, you will never go wrong with it. But just one of the things I want to address is Trueform is probably one of the one of the best manufacturers of tiny homes that I've seen so far. And their construction and their building material that they use is extremely high quality stuff. And then, you know, one of the things that you do is when you see them, and I walked through quite a few of them, it's like a home away from home if you own it somewhere for recreational purposes. But you know, if I could afford one, I'll probably end up buying a few. But by the way, I just found out they're RV quality design loans. So if you can afford an RV, you can afford a tiny home. And you know, True Form here is going to provide one for you. So reach out, call them, and come check it out, I guess. We're going to be picking up this 36-footer park model tiny home that's 10 foot 6 inches wide, approximately. It's about 36 feet long, and it's about 13, 11, almost 14 tall. So we've already arrived here, kind of walked it through, looked it over, pre-tripped partially pre-tripped it, connected to it, and I'm going to show you what we've done. This is our truck that we're going to be towing it with. We've got the chains wrapped around, and we generally crisscross the chains, and we're going to be doing that, making that adjustment. But at this moment, we got the 7-way plugged in. We've got the breakaway connected. This is the breakaway that comes in from the trailer itself back here. And this is a, you know, semi-larger frame. It's not designed necessarily for continuous hauling. It's more for towing or transporting. It's a removable bracketed tongue, and so when the structure gets delivered, that tongue gets removed. It's got a 7-way plug that goes in there and gets connected, and then of course you can disconnect. The unit itself is a white painted wood trim and siding. There is some, you know, imperfections here because whoever brought it sprayed a bunch of residue on it. I guess they didn't really have the mud flaps that are needed. So a little bit of, you know, debris that came from the road. You can see it here. The unit has been just brand new, fabricated. There's a couple imperfections, you know, like, you know, it looks like it's been sitting there for a while, but generally it is a new unit. One of the things I do want to point out, they did put this plywood cover in case that large window gets, you know, it's right in the way, and you don't want to damage that guy. So they installed that on there. The other thing is I did notice an imperfection here, and this plywood is somewhat sturdy. There's a little bit of a cutaway, and I think that was for a purpose. It's designed that way, I'm assuming. but I thought at first it was a broken piece on the trim on the lower. But yeah, it's a pretty nice little unit. It's well, little. I mean, it's a home. It's a very nice unit. They covered, you know, as we did the pre-trip here, we're going to check the torque, the axles. There's 4 axles on here. These are 7,000 pounds a piece. It's supposed to be about 65 psi in each tire, so we're going to measure that. We're going to also check the torque, and we got some spares just in case we need to. But they covered the vents, as you see up there. Again, this is almost 14 foot tall, so depending on how you position your truck and trailer, we got to really be careful when you get underneath things, you know, especially if you're going to go get fuel. So 13.6 tall, or 13.11 tall, that is, almost 14, with aluminum roofing on top. And this is obviously a painted design here for this tiny home. So some of the tiny homes that we haul are different, like Hardy Plank. I think I've seen Hardy Plank. Anyway, it's got the electric lights, the LED lights in the back functioning at this point, and there's 2 of them obviously. And then they have these reinforced, I guess, 2x4s. I don't know for what purpose, but I guess for supporting. And then there's a gas line back here that's screwed in. Obviously a window up here, and then marker lights at the very top, if you can see those. It is a larger unit, a higher unit, a taller unit than most. Again, we are on this side, a bunch of windows. Of course, you got the 4 axles on this side. We're going to check and torque the bolts to make sure they're 100 psi. We're also going to check the tire pressures on these. Again, you got a metal, corrugated metal roof up at the top, supposedly secured, and then the door, the main door, which is locked, as you can see. Inside there's some particles that just are just laying on the ground, hopefully, and there's a fridge in there that's strapped. Hopefully all the things that are loose are going to stay put and not shift around in transit. We also make certain that nothing is dangling underneath. You know, you want to make sure landing gears and all those are raised up 100% all the way up. There's, Comcast in the cable, that is a cable line. We're going to zip tie this guy up so that it does not dangle. Outside of that, it's pretty simple hook and drop. Hopefully dropping in California here tomorrow. The idea is to be there at 7 in the morning. So yeah, so let's get to it, right? So this is the unit. Again, it's a 36-foot park model tiny home designed to replicate a home away from home. We're gonna take it to Dillon Beach, California, along with many other ones, being pulled by this Freightliner, reinforced with the bumper hitch and assembly in the back for towing. And so that's kind of what it looks like. We're gonna do the prep work now. So the first thing I gotta do is get my impact tools out, my ratchet and my adapters and extensions. So I got my impact tool here, which measures up to 120 pounds per pressure. This will allow me to tighten those lug nuts on the wheels and know that they're sufficiently tight by increasing or decreasing the pressure here. And I can change that torque pressure based on this impact or this ratchet or this this tool here. So I'm gonna go do that right now and tighten all the lug nuts. Anyway, it's a perfect day for this. It's sunny outside, and so here you go. Yep, that's tight. Yep, that's tight. This takes. Yep, that's tight. Yep, that could have been a little bit tight. It looks like it's tight. Yep. These wheels are brand new, so making certain that all the bolts are tight. So 100 psi's per square inch. That's tight. It's important because you know, you're traveling on the road and you want to make sure that none of these wheels come off. Yeah, so the front wheel is a lot looser than these guys. These guys here are good. The front axle, this is a 4-axle unit, wasn't tied properly. It looks like the rear as well. There we go. Found a couple of them that were not completely tight. That one's good. So this whole process is part of the pre-trip. So right now we're checking the torque pressure on the lug nuts on each axle, and then we're going to check the pressure on the tires. Here we are on this other side now, doing the exact same thing. Yep. 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 Making certain. And while we do this, we look at the hub itself to make sure it's not leaking. The hub of the tire, of the axle itself. Make sure there's no grease coming out of it. We make sure that we also inspect and look at the outside shape of the tire. Make sure there's no bulges, there's no tears. These are brand new tires that, anyway, we're almost done with the lug nuts being torqued, making certain that they're all level and the same, and then we'll come back to the tires. So far this side has been very good. The other side, we caught a couple of them and we're not torqued sufficiently. All right, so that's the wheel lug nut torque test. So generally most truckers, they go with a thumper and they thump the tires of the trucks. I also check the pressure by reading each pressure on each unit. It's 65 to each tire, but you can do that and listen for the echo. And if you hear an echo back, you can hear that tire has, by the way, you see that blue marking here? It looks like that rear tire, and the front probably axle rubs quite a bit, especially when you turn wide or tight turns. But anyway, these 4 tires are perfectly pressured. Not only did I check it by getting an actual reading, and look, you see the same thing here. There's wear on this tire because it's the far end tire. Yeah, so you hear the echo. This one somehow it has a uneven wear as well. That one sounds just a little bit low, but it actually has 65. However, it's sitting a little awkward, and that creates a little bit of a lighter pressure. We're going to check them when we get to the truck stop as well, at our first stop station, to make sure that they're all going to stay inflated properly. And if we need to address that, we'll address it over there. So tires are done. The torque on the axles are done. We're going to now put the oversized signs, then come back and tie down these spares and make certain that we are roadworthy here in a few minutes, and we should be heading out. But let's put the oversized signs on. Okay, so what we've done is we've attached these oversized signs on the back. I've actually strapped them to a hook that they provided here, and both the lower section, and then we bungeed it to the frame itself for extra support. And you know what, because these sometimes come loose, I put a bunch of knots on it, but I zip tied the end so that way it holds it tight so it does not come loose. So that's the rear of the trailer. Obviously it's in reverse. It says oversized load. Anyway, that's exposed, visible. Sorry about the reverse text, I can see it there, but anyway, that's how you hook it up. You try to secure it properly so that way it stays and it's visible, and that you've got the lights continuously running. And if needed to be, we can put some additional marker lights, but this is pretty pretty set, ready to go. The rear. Now we're gonna go to the front, and I'll show you what I've done so far for the front of the truck, which is something similar. We have this brush guard back here, or up here, and so we ended up connecting it to the brush guard lower, and so the oversized sign is on there. Of course, I did the same thing, wrapped it around, bungeed it. You see the numerous bungees that's holding in place. Sometimes this thing, you know, with heavy winds and things of that nature, it kind of loosens up and it kind of looks awkward if it's not secured properly. So I made sure that we get that secured. On top of everything else, what we're going to try to do is put these flags on the corners of the load and the corner of the truck itself. So that way we have additional marking of the load itself, the width of it, for that purpose to identify the 10/6 width on the unit itself. Okay, so what we've done is we've added these flags, these corner flags. There's a little bit of an overhang up at the top, not necessarily more than supposedly 10 feet 6, but we made them so that way they identify the corners and we get the additional spacing. Hopefully that's not going to go against us, making the load wider, but generally this gives us a little bit of a more spatial distance between the cars to recognize the corner posts. And these flags are marking points for the oversized. Anyway, so what I've done is I've attached them here between the cracks and zip tied them and bungeed. This particular one is zip tied quite a bit. Made sure that we got to make sure that all the, we clean up it looks presentable, even though we're, in some cases you're going over through the mountains and all that. Make sure your load is presentable, because when you do go through the scale, those scale master guys, that's kind of what they look for, is things that are unprofessionally looking or not presentable, loose, dangling, things of that nature. You don't want to stand out. So you want to make your load as nice and clean and presentable to the scale guys on DOT standards. So that way they don't pick on you and they don't pull you, and you don't have to wait and have to go through a number of other things. So at this point, this load is secure, is marked. We've got flags on all corners. The only thing left is we've checked the tires, we've checked the outside. There's no loose cargo other than what's inside the trailer. The tires, rims, lug nuts, suspension, and the axles look presentable. There's no undercarriage, loose items other than that cable that I mentioned earlier, which I'm going to put a zip tie just now. The front is also marked as well. The truck is connected. We got lights operational. We got the dangling chains, the breakaway in place. We got the ball secure. The landing gear is up. Now we're going to tie down these spares, and I think that's about it. And then we can start putting our paperwork together so we can head on out. You guys, we're on the road, and you can see my oversized load back there with the flags reflecting in the rear view mirror of my truck. I'm using my dash camera here to record this, or actually my mounted camera. It's just tilted right now, pointing towards the rear. So that's what it looks like on the road, and how much distance you got to keep. You got to keep those flags on the edge. You got to look. Another oversized vehicle coming on my rear right now. It's mostly probably a low boy, but generally 2 oversized vehicles on the same freeway are usually a tight squeeze in heavy traffic. This is not heavy traffic by any way, where any standard. So his oversized load is briefly over 8.6, not necessarily 10 feet and a half wide or wider. smaller heavy than oversized. However, he does need to keep an oversized sign on there. And as he's passing me by, you know, I got to keep my distance on the right side of the lane, literally hugging that white line to give enough space to everybody else as they continue passing me on the left lane. Now, up to this point, there is 2, 3, including 4-lane traffic that I had to get through to manage to get to the, you know, freeway right now, which is the area that I'm going to be heading over towards California, which is I-5 South. But the 4-lane and 3-lane traffic, you got to be able to be aggressively taking all those lanes that you need before traffic piles up, because even with the flags there, a lot of people don't respect that and they sneak in between. You know, they don't realize the oversized sign in the back, the flashing lights, they don't see the flags, they don't see the big truck, so they just want to get in there. And, you know, they got to go to their lunch or breakfast or whatever they got to go. And they really don't care about anybody else, they just care about themselves. So you, as the driver, commercial, professional driver, have to be aggressive when you pull an oversized load in heavy traffic. And then you got to always look ahead and plan out your escape or your maneuvering, especially if you have a turn to come up that's coming up or lights that are coming up. But this is freeway right now, so it's pretty clear, and you know, I'm 600 miles to my destination. I will be going through San Francisco in a heavy congested area, but hopefully not necessarily during the heavy congested times. But that's what it looks like on that side. And let me see if I can get the camera to move to see what the right side looks like. So the positioning, you have to kind of hug, like I said, the line to the best of your ability, unless there's construction or cones. Then you got to try to find your way into the middle lane and get your vehicle first in line before anybody else. So let me see if I can switch over to the other side and identify the spacing on the right side of the truck trailer. So this is the opposite side of the lane. This is the emergency lane. The flags, you can see them flapping out there. Generally, you can't even see the white line, can you? And that's because I'm literally hugging it. It's underneath, and you know, I'm trying to give enough space to the traffic on my left, on my driver's side. So you gotta always plan it out, have enough space in front of you, and maneuver your vehicle as you're the king of the road. You take the space you need, but way in advance. Don't wait until the traffic piles up. And that's what the right side mirror looks like for my right side load as I hug the right side of the lane. I'm going to move now to hopefully the front. I'm going to move the camera to the front so you can see my positioning for the front. So this is generally the position for the front. As you can see, my right rear tire, front rear steer tire, my drive tires, all of them are literally hugging that white line on the right side. And in some cases, I go on over the line in order to get through traffic that's heavy, or sometimes you got, you know, construction or debris or equipment or, you know, bridges that you got to go through. And so you got to make your way in and out of traffic safely without pushing anybody else off the road, of course, or allowing them to come in your way as well. So you got to be aggressive yet compassionate for the traffic zones. So that is what it looks like to pull a tiny big home. I call it tiny big home because it's called a tiny home, but it's, you know, a little bigger than what normal people think a tiny home is. So we're on the road, I-5 southbound, heading to Dillon Beach, California. The weather is at 47 degree outdoor and maybe 65 degrees inside the cab right now. Clear. There's some serious clouds in the sky and the sun is coming up. It's approximately 11 something in the morning, and we should be making a stop to get some fuel here pretty soon. But otherwise, we're en route, and we'll be providing an ETA here shortly to the client, the customer, and to ourselves, so that everybody knows when we get there and whereabouts we are at. So this is what it looks like in heavy traffic, I guess, on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lane road here in Vacaville, California. I am taking 2 lanes and trying to manage through. Just look at the rear right now. It's really clear compared to what it was a few minutes ago. Bumper traffic at 55. They're gaining up on me again, but I got both lanes occupied right now, and you see the rear view mirror. I'm taking aggressive maneuvers in order to get into the position, especially when we have issues that need to be addressed. Now I'm going to move over to the right lane, give some clearance to the rest of the traffic, and hug the other lane, so that way I can give more freedom to the rest of the traffic. Front view of the positioning of the truck, and so looks like the scales are closed, so I don't have to go through the scale. But yeah, this is kind of what it looks like. So here I am getting fuel right now, ready to put some fuel in the tank. We arrived at the, I guess, Flying J, and we're going to put about $500 of fuel into both tanks and a little bit of DEF fuel to get me about 75% of the fuel that I need for this trip. And so here I am at the fuel island. This is a second hose or second connection, and then the truck is going just fine. Looks like we got the oversized sign still on there. The other fuel line is working real hard. We're getting fuel at about $4.45. Right now we're 260 something. So let's keep going. Tires are doing good. The spares, both tanks are filled up. Obviously, I've already checked the trailer or the tiny home. That's what it looks like from my perspective. And I can barely make the top, but this is gonna be just fine. The clearance here is about 16 feet, and the only thing is that this ridge right here, all the way to the very top, is a little tighter than or higher than most. And so making the clearance at the edge, in some cases, some fuel islands you can't make the clearance because it's approximately 13, maybe 14 feet tall. Also the width itself, as you can see, this is the proximity of the trailer and the flag. I'm really squeezing by. So when you do this, you got to be real careful to make sure. And sometimes the guys that behind you, they don't realize that you're oversized and they block you in. So you got to watch for that. So here we are getting fuel, about 500 or so, $600, maybe about 100 gallons. And once we top up with fuel, we're going to end up getting some DEF fuel as well. So we got fuel. Now we're going to close up the tanks. This is the right side tank, and then we're going to go to the other one, the left, which is the driver's side tank. I put the fuel thing back in place and cover it up. I've been down the road long ago where if you're in a hurry, you forget to cover that and all the fuel spills out. So make sure it's both of them are completely closed and locked. here to Dillon Beach in California. The unit made it just fine. Looks like we parked it here overnight. We stayed here for the evening, night, until the morning. Now the owner is taking possession of it, doing a final inspection, signing the documents, and we're releasing this one. And then we're gonna head on out to try to pick up another one. So there you go. This is the unit here delivered. So what's a good transport without actually having a good breakfast? So I'm sitting here at Denny's right now. Truck is in the background over there. And so we just made this delivery. We're gonna try to fly back away as fast as we can back to Eugene and pick up the other load and come back here for tomorrow evening, hopefully with a delivery in the afternoon tomorrow. But the first thing I want to do is, obviously breakfast. Truck's doing all right. I got enough fuel. Just need to get a little bit of oil in it, and we'll be back on the road. So after I get my breakfast, I'm gonna just, put my foot to the floor and just get there when I get. All right, you guys, we're back at Tiny Home, or Tiny True Forum in Eugene. We're picking up our second tiny home. This is another 36-footer. This is going back to Dillon Beach in California, and this is a 10.5 wide. Again, it's going to be about 13, supposedly 13.11, 13.10, depending on how you sit. It's got a 4-axle trailer or hookup, all 7,000 pounds axles. We just double checked all the torque, and we're going to check the tires. We checked the tires to make sure that they're properly inflated. Doors are locked. There's no underside loose cables. The hitch assembly is already hooked up and ready to go on a 2 5/16 ball. Lights are operational. We've got marker lights in the front, marker lights in the side, marker lights in the back. We have these flags, corner flags, that we're marking the corners. And then we also have the oversized sign in place.
We'll leave the door when you want to come in and go to the bathroom.
Okay, yeah, thank you guys. Oversized sign in place on the back, hooked by the little hooks here. The marker lights on the back, on the bottom are working, and the upper marker lights are operational as well. Like I said, we checked the axles earlier. It's a process of twisting and turning to get the pressure on the lug nuts. All tires are inflated to 65 psi's, and the truck is equipped with a oversized sign as well. And again, marker lights and the flags are very important, very crucial, especially in heavy congested traffic. We've got some spares just in case we need them, and the window is covered up just in case there's any debris being flicked backwards from the truck, although we do have mud flaps that protect that from happening. The truck is almost filled up. I think we need some fuel. There's an oversized sign in the front, and we're ready to go. It back with the second one here. We're going to disconnect, and they've got a crew already ready to shift it in place. This is the blue one. It's again the same size as the previous one. We need to take the signs off and the flags off and disconnect it, and then they'll park it. Here with Victoria, she's the manager of this fine establishment. She's signing off on this new unit that we brought in. And Victoria is the contact person here at
Dillon Beach Resort.
Dillon Beach Resort. Are you satisfied with our
Yes,
service?
I am.
Okay. Well, that's who you contact. Here we're getting the tiny home situated. Got a gentleman as a ground guide and a tractor operator or tongue operator with a tractor position. It's going to go into that space. And the time of the day is about 9 p.m., 8 p.m., 8:30. So it's dark, you can't see. Without a ground guide, it's impossible to maneuver. So generally we use a radio and we communicate back and forth. So you got usually two ground guides. There's one guy on the other side helping the right side and one on the left side. And this is a larger tiny home, 4-axle. That needs to be positioned, and then the tongue comes out. In this location, there's a curb, and so we put these 4x4 supports for the tires to actually come up on. And the operator or the tractor operator, the tongue operator, is maneuvering as the ground guides continue guiding the wheels. As you can see, the wheels now are going to start making their way onto the 4x4 and lifting over the curb, so there's no wear on the wheels. The second 4x4, which is located just below that on the other axle side, is going to provide support as well, and that will assist on the wheels itself to be supported as the unit climbs the curb, being pulled by the tractor. In this case, it's really an easy access location. The most important thing is making certain that the rear does not catch, and the undercarriage, and of course you can see there's power lines. And this is a 1310, 1311. In some cases, depending on how it's angled, it could easily be 14 something. If the front is angled lower, then the rear is going to be higher. If the rear is lower, then the front is going to be higher. And so the adjustment is made by the operator up the front. And as you can see here, it's about maybe 7-8 inches off the ground on the back side here. And it's a little brisk evening here at the coast, on the Pacific coast. And so there's multiple tiny homes that we brought. I don't know where the other one that I just brought the other day is. I think it's back over there. And they plant these onto the beach, and then of course they make them available to guests. This particular unit is going to be positioned in that space right there, and generally this is done best during the day. Unfortunately, this particular transport was not had to happen at this time of the night. And so they conveniently waited and are positioning it and making it work. Even during the evening, we're making it work. And so generally you want to do this bright daylight. We've done this plenty of times on other locations. Here's the unit tilted to the side only because it's requiring a little bit of an adjustment. The positioning of the ground is leaning to that side, and so the operator again is communicating with the ground guides. As you can see them right over there guiding, and the operator's adjusting the angle of the structure as the ground guides are watching the corners. So sometimes you've got to take a little bit of time to put these things into place, and then once you get in place, you got to readjust it, and once you readjust it, you got to reposition it. Generally, this is a pretty easy to get to location. There's no major forest, trees, obstacles. There's just a curb and some fencing, and you know, it's a convenient location. I would have, without a doubt, if this would have been allowed to be backed in, it would have been automatically backed in by the semi. But since the tongue is on the other side, you have to conveniently position it with that front towards the beach, and then come out with the tractor. So we're gonna go up on the other side, see how it turns out.
Amazing.
Yeah, they're, you know, it helps to have two ground guides every single time,
Yep.
because
These guys know exactly what they're doing.
we do this quite often, and having an operator and a ground guide, just one, it's really difficult. Having two guys is very good.
Game changer.
Yeah. Well, just like I was saying, is once they got it positioned, they got to reposition, and this is the case here. They got it almost to the point where it needed to be where it needed to be, and then they have to readjust it. So once they got it in place, they had to pull it back out, and now they're going to drop it and reposition the tractor so they can come at a better angle with it backwards. So this is kind of the maneuver process, the adjustment that needs to be done to get it in the right exact position, so that way all utilities and all the other components can be connected to it. It usually takes maybe an hour and a half, or depending on how difficult the location is. These locations, like I said, they're very easy, accessible. The operator's got lots of experience, and good equipment is important. This particular type of equipment, the 930, is a bigger unit and can handle quite a bit of weight. The units that we use are generally a lot smaller, and we can get in little tight. I'm just recording on our. Yeah, so the smaller units are more accessible to smaller and tight squeeze areas. The bigger guy here, he can maneuver very well. We've used this guy before, and you know, the only unfortunate thing with this guy is that, you know, he's, you know, the 930. Is it a Caterpillar or is it John Deere? I can't tell. But it's a 930 unit with the rear axle steer, the front axle support, and then the hydraulic lift up in the front. So it could pull up and pick up and do anything you need, but when it comes to getting in between tight spaces, it's a little difficult. Like I said, this is a very easy, accessible location, and they're doing a great job moving it in place. Generally on a commercial site or a rural neighborhood, we use smaller units, because usually you find that underneath these tiny homes or park models, there's utilities, and there's also, you know, water lines, and so having a big excavator like this generally would push down on the utilities, and it could cause damage. So our little putt-putt, I guess, tote tractor makes it easier to get in and out over utilities without busting the lines, but in this case there's no utilities. All utilities are to the left. They're not going to affect any of this weight of the excavator or the the forklift, I guess. This is a two-wheel drive unit, unfortunately, I believe, the 930. So if you can see here, they pretty much got it in place. They had to readjust, and it took what, maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes now, maybe less than that. And that they're like almost in the right exact position it needs to be. You know, so that's the nice thing. Knowing how to put these in place and how the trailer's maneuvering and how the axle shift is important for the ground guys, because they're essentially telling the operator up in the forklift how to get this thing positioned. So when you don't know the axles, how they turn, where they're situated, you're not going to know what to tell him. So having a good ground guide is important. Generally, the ground guides also operate the forklift. And in some cases, they're just observers. But in most cases, they have to know how the wheels turn, where they turn, how they're situated, and how to position the unit. So here we go. It looks like it's almost done. And so that's what it takes to move a park model home or a tiny home into place in the middle of the night with two ground guides and a operator on a JCB 930. And so this is a 36-foot unit. As you can see here, there's other units. This one I just brought the other day. It's hard to see at night, but during the day you can see it. They position it, and they're going to put the skirting around it, and then of course connect it to utilities. You can see right here is the water or the drain utility. There's probably somewhere a water line, and so they're taking their time to do that. There's plumbing, as you can see. This had to be pre-installed prior to, and the view from over here, I wish I can show you, and I'll probably end up showing you guys in the morning, but these windows, huge windows. By the way, these units they range in price. As a matter of fact, that one I believe was close to $300,000 delivered. This one is about the same. So the values of these units are extremely high, but they are RV frame designs and RV loans and RV proprietary requirements as the state regulates and maintains an RV use for these things. And so the regulations on the use of these units are much or less stringent as a manufactured home or as a stick-built home. But anyway, going back to the point that I'm trying to make, once they position this, and in the morning I'm going to try to show you the view from these windows to my right here is incredible. To give you kind of a little bit of, you can't see anything, but I said, oh, there we go. We got I zoomed in. That is the ocean in the background, if you can see. There's some folks having a fire there. But that is the ocean right there. And my camera does a very poor job in identifying that. But I'm sitting right here in their little deck area almost, overlooking the ocean. And so this is an awesome place, an awesome view for the morning to come. So going back to the positioning of the park model home. This is a 36 by 10 and a half wide with a 13 and 11 or 13, 12 tall. It's on a RV frame with a tongue. The tongue weight was about 3,000 pounds. The whole unit is over 20,000 pounds. It's got a corrugated metal roof and wood siding. And anyway, it looks like they're done, and I am out of here. We're gonna go and bring the next one. Good morning, everyone. This is the view that I was trying to show you guys last night. These are the structures we brought in, and they're parked here in a row. This is the most recent one was this one right here, and when they're gonna have them all ready, it'll look something like the other ones up there. These are bigger guys. That's the first one we brought in, and the second one over here, and then we're gonna continue filling in this row. But the view from here is this, and so this is the area here. You got surfers, you got beach goers, visitors of all sort coming down here. I actually think I came in one time with the RV here long ago and parked. I remember entering through that little gate there, a secured gate. So yeah, when the sun is out, this is a pristine place, very popular, very, very attracted site for surfers and viewers. There's a humongous tree here, as you probably have seen in the way, well, you haven't because I haven't recorded, but there's a lot of trees and various sort of arrangements here in these areas. Anyway, but going back to the tiny homes, that's what the tiny home looks like. That's again the larger unit. It's been delivered, and it's perfect location for the beach view. Nice place. My truck sitting, waiting. After delivering last night, we are going to be using that general store, and there's a restaurant in there. Truck is sitting just above the bay, overlooking it. So since I'm here at Dillon Beach, I guess, restaurant, before I take off after delivering the tiny homes, I'm having some soup and some salad and enjoying the scenery back over the pool. And then I'm gonna head on out for Monday morning to take another load and bring it back over here again.